The thing to remember about this story is that every word is true. If I never told it to a soul and this book did not exist, it would not cease to be true. I don't mind at all if you forget this. The important thing is that I don't. It was incredibly difficult and exhausting to get back to shore, but we got there. And I assumed Tony would be behind us, but he wasn't. He'd been unable to swim back to shore, and some fishermen got to him and they brought him ashore, but he'd inhaled too much seawater in his lungs while he was in the water, and he died before they reached the shore.
This may be difficult, but could you just tell us about the moment that led to your husband's death?
Yes, it was early in the morning. We'd just woken up. It was a very sort of innocuous morning. Tony was drinking coffee on the beach and our 4-year-old son Jake was paddling at the water's edge. And what's called a riptide, which is a current that you can't see from the surface of the sea, pulled Jake out to sea, and Tony managed to get to him and hold him afloat. And I swam to them and was able to get Jake back to shore. The first time I read the story of Tony's death, it was a news report in The Guardian, my own newspaper. I love newspapers. I've been a journalist for 20 years. As a child, I was a compulsive writer, but only ever of diaries, letters, lists, never fiction. Where would be the point in making up a story, when the truth is by definition always more interesting?
Now, 2 years ago, Decca Aitkenhead was enjoying another morning on her dream Caribbean holiday, when in an instant her world changed forever after her partner Tony died while saving their son from drowning. Decca's book, All at Sea, which she shares her story, is out today, and she's joining me now in the studio. It's lovely to have you. It's an overwhelming story. To be honest, I don't know how you're still standing. You've told the story here. Take me back to that day.
People from the houses on either side were kind of throwing out life rafts and rings, and they got a float to him, and we pulled him in with the fishermen holding him. And I thought that he was fine because he hadn't gone under. It had been terrifying, the whole experience, but there he was on the beach. We thought we'd saved his life. We read about freak disasters every day, knowing perfectly well that the news is not fiction. And yet, deep down, what we are reading must feel to us made up. Why else would we be so incredulous when they happen to us? Even the journalists who report them must be in the same boat. I've been writing about real people for all these years, and apparently had not grasped that they were real. Your mind is having these twin things where on the one hand your conscious mind knows that this is happening because you're seeing it in front of your eyes, and there's a huge part of your brain that's absolutely refusing to accept that this is happening. And even at the point in the commotion when there are people trying to revive him and a friend of mine is performing CPR, and when I saw her put her fingers to his pulse and look up and shake her head at the men standing around him, even at that point
you can't accept it.
It's an extraordinary thing. Your brain will not accept what's in front of your eyes. And I remember thinking, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's just completely misunderstood. Of course he's about to sit up. She's had medical training. I know this woman involved. I mean, there was no ambiguity about what was happening in front of my eyes, and yet, your brain doesn't accept it.
It's a defence thing.
It's an absolute defence, and it takes days and then weeks and then months. And sometimes I'm not even sure, even sitting here now, I think, do I really believe it's true? I've written a book about it. It's been nearly 2 years. And so, for 20 years, I have been reading and writing what I thought of as the truth. Then I read about my own family's tragedy in the newspaper, and the only thing I could think was, they can't be talking about me. They can't be my family. This could never happen to me and my family. This is something that happens to other people. Grief is just a fundamentally lonely thing, and one of the things that I've learned through writing this book is that although my circumstances are very particular, our relationship was quite unusual, the nature of his death was extraordinary, and he was a remarkable person. There are universal themes about loss and bereavement and grief, and I think loneliness is probably the one of all.